Welcome to Book Talk. I'm Winston, and today we are talking about one of the books from the DriveThru RPG Pocket Quest 2023 Game Design Jam. Today we are talking about exit strategy. All right, so exit strategy is, let me just read you the background here in the front. Gilet is a small, barren planet designated years ago as the location of a political space prison, primarily because it is the furthest planet from the luxurious new colonies. The draconian leader of the new colonies has just made a surprise announcement. Budget cuts are imminent. Destroying Gilet is a more cost-effective rather than evacuating. The problem? The bombs are on the way. Problem? You're still on watch. Players act as guards of the space prison. They need to work together to explore, negotiate, find a ship, and escape before the time runs out and the destructive bombs hit. So that's the setup. This is designed to be a one and done. It's entirely self-contained. This is everything that you need to know is right in here. We'll talk about the system here in a minute, but I want to highlight a couple of things that really stand out about this. I'm gonna get to the notes rather than relying on my memory. All right, so the prison is going to get blown up. This is not a natural catastrophe. It is going to be destroyed by the government that was operating it. The prisoners here are politically imprisoned by the reigning government because they were on the losing side of the mining wars. This does not automatically label them as hostile, evil, wrong, or murderous. There should be a mix of personalities and motivations when crafting the adventure. So yes, this is a prison, but it's not, but specifically it's more like Ganymede on Cowboy Bebop. That helps like 1% of people who have seen it. So this is, it's an exile planet. There are prisoners there, but they're not there for crimes. They're there for political reasons, most of them. Gilet should be represented as a callous, dog-eat-dog world. The planet is a huge prison facility, and the prisoners are as cold and hostile as the environment itself. However, there are free residents of Gilet as well. These people are crude, rough around the edges, and bitter. A lot of the hardened exteriors cover up fear of what is next and shame from losing the war. Whether prisoners, guards, or residents, these are still people who fear death and genuinely care about their families, most of whom have already moved a great distance away to live in the new colonies. So this is the setup, and it is brought home with a two-page story at the very back, which just really drew me in and hooked me on this premise and on this setting. And I'm not going to read it because I want you to read it. It tells the story of one of the guards, and who you know, this could be your character. When at the beginning of the game you find out, guess what? Them transfer papers you were counting on, they're not coming through. So that's the premise of the game. That's the setup. The game itself uses the Start with 6 system, or excuse me, Start with 6 game engine for Theater of the Mind sandbox gameplay. So this uses 1d6 to resolve every action except for combat. You roll a 6-sided on when you take an action. You roll a 6-sided combat. On a 1, you fail. There's a consequence. On a 2 or 3, you fail. There's no consequence. On a 4 or 5, there you succeed, but there is no reward. And on a 6, you succeed, and there's a reward. And this matches up nicely with a chart in the back. Whenever you get that 1 or the 6 on there, you roll on the chart to determine what your reward or penalty is, or consequence is. And like most RPGs, you roll the dice when it's time for something, when there's a possibility of failure, when you need to determine something randomly. Short description of how to play in turns and rounds, and description of the abilities. There are 18 abilities that describe your character. You get to select 6 of these, and they describe the different things that your character is better at than the rest, or give you bonuses in some other ways. When you dive into combat, the attacker gets their roll. This time they're rolling 6d6, and let's see, 5s and 6s on the dice count as successes. There's no critical misses. You have to get at least 1 success. Okay. That's the attacker. The defender then rolls 6d6, 5s and 6s block attacking dice. So if after that initial roll is done, the defender gets to take a reaction. And this reaction can be used, I mean, obviously you can attack back, but the reaction can also be used to disengage. The combat will end, and you may have a chance to win an ally. You can escape, the combat ends, and the escaping character is out of there and can't be attacked again. Or you can surrender. You lose and give up all your stuff. But it does say that the attacking party immediately ceases to attack. So I thought that was an interesting way to just, boom, resolve the conflict, resolve the combat and move on to a different part. Allies have specific roles in the game. They don't really exist to jump into combat. They're mostly here to give you directions, give you pointers, help you out with gear. And then, of course, there's a chart of items, and the items are almost all of them just boost your dice roll in some way. So the game is not meant to be played on a grid. It's not really a skirmish war game, as it were. This is very much a storytelling game. It starts out with the situation. No spoilers there. It's that's the selling point for the book. That's the premise. You're on this prison planet. You are a guard on this prison planet, and the government has decided to just blow you up instead of evacuating anybody and shutting it down. Get out. All right, that's the setup. There's the story engine that determines when things go your way and when they don't. Work with your game master to tell the story of how you get off the asteroid and whether or not you can take anybody with you. And that is an option. You can burn them all down, jump in the first rocket you get your hands on and blast off planet, or you can work together and evacuate selected people, as many people as you can, or whatever the story that you are attempting to tell is going to be. So that is the final exit strategy. That is exit strategy in a nutshell. There's a lot going on here, and certainly there is a lot of chance here for some really involved storytelling and some real, some really involving role playing as you meet the people and get off planet. There are some suggestions for resolutions about where some spaceships are and what you're going to need to get those off planet, including this spaceship over here. You have to go to location A, B, and C to get the parts for that one. If you go to number 2, if you're going to try and get spaceship number 2, you need to go to locations B, C, and D to get the gear that's there, or different ways. And it's clearly a suggestion of ways that the story can be resolved. So that's exit strategy. It is role-playing heavy, which matches the marvelous bit of fiction at the end. And I'm going to resist the urge to read it to you because I want you to read this book. This is got some really interesting things to chew on, and I recommend this one. I like this one. That is Exit Strategy. It's over at DriveThru RPG. There will be affiliate links in the descriptions below. While you're there, check out my books, Opposing Forces, also on DriveThru RPG, or head over to DriveThru Fiction. check out the Starman Saga, good sci-fi, and when you're done there, head back here because there is more book talk to come.